I haven't sewn in like 6 weeks now, and that's too long. Welcome back, old friend. So I returned from my travels with a whole bunch of footage and basically decided that I don't know myself at all, because I made this whole plan wherein I would sit down for a week straight and edit videos. But here's the thing about editing, it's the hard part. I'm not very good at it, and also it's the part where I question all of my life choices. So to return home, where I really needed to like get back into a normal routine and encourage myself to move forward, and then expect myself to sit down for days on end and do nothing but editing, it was just like, hello, have you ever met me? That's not gonna end well. And it didn't. This has been a really weird week. My mood has been like bloop, 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 bloop every single day. So finally, I said, f it. And I scheduled a neat little break in the editing where I could finally make something. I really need to make something. Is there a giant glare on my glasses? I feel like there is. Too late. So we're gonna sew today. I'm gonna make something, kind of. It's more of an experiment really than making something, but it's the first step to making something, and it was the first project on my very, very long list of projects, so it's what we're doing today. And look, I'm just gonna warn you right now. I don't know why it has to be a warning, but whatever. If I'm like extra chatty or a little weird or my mood seems off in the next several videos, yeah, things are just a little odd. I have not seen Matt in almost 3 weeks. I haven't seen my puppy in almost 6 weeks. It's very quiet and sad in this house. And I haven't had much conversation in quite a while because, you know, I was in a foreign country. And now the thing I usually do that gets me out among other human beings, which is background work, is pretty much on hold for an indeterminate amount of time because, if you didn't know, there's a writer's strike going on right now. So there's no work for those of us who work on sets, which is good. I support the strike. Writers deserve much better treatment. But yeah, so I'm basically holed up alone at home, and if I'm extra chatty, that's why. So before I left, some of the last projects that I worked on, I ended up adding ruffles to a lot of stuff. I was doing a lot of hand gathering, and I kind of realized as I was doing these projects that I was just winging it. I'm always just winging it. But kind of like I did the whole pleat experiment so that I would have a basis to go off of in the future, I thought I should really do a gathering experiment, because I tend to just want to gather everything to the maximum. When I made my petticoat back in the day, I literally just gathered all of that tulle like as tightly as it could be gathered, and what I ended up with was a cupcake of a petticoat. It is so floofy, and it's actually on my list to make another petticoat because that one is super fun, but it's not really practical for everyday use, of course, but even for like light use. Like I can't really wear that one unless I'm just being like, look at me, I'm cute, I'm taking pictures. So not everything should be gathered to the max, but I don't really have any basis in my mind to go off of like how much should I gather this certain fabric. So I thought I would just sit down like I did with pleats and just do an experiment. I want to kind of hit several different types of fabric because of course the thickness, the weight, the flow of the fabric very much influences how much you should be gathering. And then what I'm looking for, the information that I want to have for later, is what size do you start with? That's your main question in gathering. This is what I want it to be, but how much fabric should I use to get down to that? And then I'd like to also do a few of them with sort of my way of explaining things. The ruffle that's like sewn on the outside so it has a little lip around the top, like I did on my Paris dress, so that I can see the contrast of that versus just a normal kind of right side to right side sewn on ruffle. Yeah, I feel like I'm over explaining at this point and I should just do it and show you. And so come along with me if you are also like, hey, I've never really thought about gathering as a bigger picture either. I just do it on each dress. And this is all gonna be hand gathering because I do not have a gathering foot. Should I get one? Yeah, probably. Am I gonna? Yeah, probably, but not right now. Okay, first things first, I need to clear off this desk. Did I move my embroidery into this room just so that I could keep an eye on the birds who built a nest in my backyard? You bet I did. So while I was gone, right outside these doors, a pair of doves built a nest, apparently laid some eggs and hatched them, and there are 2 baby doves out there. They're actually pretty big now, and they're so freaking cute. And then I just discovered like 2 days ago that there's also a pair of, I think they're called black phoebes, who live in our backyard. We've actually been seeing them since we moved in last year, but they've also built a nest. I don't see any movement from that nest, so I think maybe it's still in the egg stage. But basically, this has been my main source of entertainment for the last week. Yay birds! And see, now that was like unnecessarily chatty, so when I'm editing, I'll sit there for ages and try to decide if I should leave that in the video or not. Conundrums. Ba-da-dum. All right, I gotta go find some fabric. I think I'm gonna try to mostly use scrap fabric for this, so I've got a whole giant bin of it right here. Let's do a little digging. Welcome to the already full bin of scraps. I haven't been sewing for that long. I haven't. This is already so many scraps. Ooh, see, here's a question. Should I also do a knit fabric? Does knit ruffle differently than woven fabrics do? Probably. What's in the bottom of this? Ooh, hum diddly dum diddly dee. You know what I'm realizing here is there's a lot of scraps in here, but there's not a lot of each fabric type. I really do try to use as much fabric as possible whenever I'm making an outfit. Squish back in. If you have ideas of stuff that I could do with fabric scraps, tell me in the comments, because clearly I need to use some of them up. I'd like to point out that I was originally gonna do this with 3 types of fabric. I'm up to 7 now. Everything becomes so much more involved the second that I get started. I might not do all of these, but I have like a very fine tool, and then I do have this like much more netting style tool. And then in the world of knit, this one is a very like thin, breezy kind of knit. This one is thicker and more structured and not as stretchy. And then we have sort of our regular woven fabric, a very, very thin and breezy, flowy kind of fabric. This is apparently the heaviest fabric I've used kind of at all. And then I just have some plain cotton as the mid-weight stuff. These fabric quarters I got so long ago, and I've never used them, and I probably won't. So this is a good use for them. I think I'm gonna have to iron these. I am gonna iron them. So basically, here's my plan. I wanna do 3-inch segments for each comparison. So basically, I'm going to have my base piece of fabric at 3 inches, and then the ruffle will be 4.5 inches, 6 inches, 7.5 inches, and 9 inches. So let's give it a go. Alrighty, I decided to take it up to a 4-inch base piece instead of 3, because 3 just seemed really, really small. So now we have our 4-inch little base pieces. I made them double layer so that I have some sort of structure there and just not raw edges. I don't know why. Whatevs. So we have 6 inches, 8 inches, 10 inches, and 12 inches for the 1.5, 2, 2.5, and 3. For each of these pieces, I'm going to do 2 rows of machine sewn gathering stitches, so light tension and large stitches, and then I'm going to hand gather them to fit on the original little base pieces, and we'll be able to compare and contrast and see what it looks like. Huzzah, let's do it! Step 1 done. Once I finished the initial 4 tests, I decided that this fabric could be gathered more. So I went ahead and did a 3.5 and a 4 times the original length as well. I finished off the test with this fabric by doing 3 versions of the top ruffle, a ×2, ×3, and ×4. The way that I do this is with the fabric doubled over on top, so you have a clean fold instead of a raw edge. So that means you have 2 layers of fabric that are being gathered instead of just 1. And as I suspected, that did affect not only the feel of hand gathering, but also how tightly I could gather it and how the gathers looked in the end. So we now have 9 versions of gathering on the same fabric. It looks like a bunch of tiny little skirts. It's adorable. What am I gonna do with these? So, as I suspected, like the 1.5 is boring. That's so little gathering in my opinion. But I could see there being reasons for that. Style choices that call for a subtle amount of gathering like that. They're maybe not style choices that I'm gonna make frequently, but they're there and it's good to know. It's really not until the 2.5 that I start liking the look of it. I don't know, I think I'm just like, if you're gonna do gathers on something, why not make it as full as possible? But then we all know how I feel about swoosh. And the 4, it's great. Look how far those sides stand out on their own. I think that's the problem I most often run into when I'm gathering, is I just love things to be full and swooshy and a little over dramatic. So it's like, why not just gather things as much as possible? So this was fascinating. I already feel like I have learned a lot. Now we rinse and repeat. How many of these am I gonna make? Potentially a lot. But y'all, it is so nice to be sewing again. I'm very much enjoying it, even though I'm kind of like, why are you doing this? Experiments are just fun, man. I like experimenting. This fabric is so enjoyable together. Gotta love a light, flowy fabric for gathering. He's the best. Okay, yet another little stack. Do I want to do ruffle tops? Yeah, sure, why not? Whee! Round 2 is done, y'all. It's very interesting to see the comparison between the types of fabric with the same amount of gathering. The cotton does gather much more like evenly, I guess you'd say, very neatly, whereas the whatever this is, I don't know, y'all, I don't know fabrics, is a lot more sort of bumpy and irregular, but is that fun or what? Anyway, once again, we have this whole like, what's the point of 1.5? I know there's a point. There's definitely a point. This lighter, more subtle amount of gathering, I definitely think of this more as like, sometimes you'll see busts that have been gathered under here so that you don't need a dart or anything. I think that is definitely going to be a more subtle type of gathering like this. Maybe even sleeves when you want like some slight body to your sleeves, but you don't want actual puffed sleeves. I don't know that I would ever find much of a purpose to do any form of skirt at a 1.5 because it's such a light amount of gathering that it's harder to get it even. On the other hand, 4 times the original length is real nice, but definitely very poofy. So like that's something to consider if you're doing the gathers around the waist, like this was the actual waistband and the skirt. If you do 4 times your waist measurement, it's gonna be super poofy, which could be incredibly fun, but maybe isn't the look you're always going for. You know, that's something to keep in mind is, do you want the skirt to still kind of drape or do you want it to poof? And if you go with a 4 times the length, you're probably gonna get some poof. So I'm definitely not going to do the ruffle top on the heavy fabric or the 2 knits. I may not even do the 3.5 and the ×4. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, here we go back to the beginning. Oh dang! This is not bad together. It still gathers pretty smoothly, but whew, quite a difference from the pink stuff. It's not pleasant and shushy now. Shushy, whatever kind of word that is. Okay, spread out, you little buggers. Next, I am getting this down to a science now. When you leave the screen door on our like side kitchen door open, like you don't latch it all the way, it will frequently get blown by the wind and like clunk. It's not a frightening noise, but when you're home alone, it's very much like a who's there kind of noise. So you'd think that I would latch the door like a smart person. Nope, it's been unlatched for 2 days now, and every time it makes the noise, I go, oh, you should take care of that. I don't. Getting better at guesstimating 4 inches. Alright, so I did the first 4 in the heavy material, the heaviest one I'm going to do right now. So I have 1.5, 2, 2.5, and 3 times. And honestly, I think that's enough. This is the most gathered one. This is the 3 times one. First of all, that's adorable. I want this skirt. This is making me just want skirts out of these materials, and I've already used them. There's nothing left. This definitely could be gathered tighter in theory, but I don't think I need an example of that for myself. So I think this is enough with the heavy material. We're gonna move on to some knit. Whee! This pile is getting very big. Y'all, the baby doves are so cute. They're literally like poking at each other like siblings who are just trying to annoy each other and then flapping their wings a lot. I think they're probably gonna fly away pretty soon. Oh, Susanna, don't you cry for me. That song came out of nowhere. I can't tie a knot. Ugh, I hate the 1.5 gathering. I always overgather it. I will say, I don't think I've gathered knit before, and I wasn't sure how well this would do, but it's actually gathering very nicely. There's the door again. Definitely didn't go close it. I almost thought I'd only be able to do 5 of these instead of 6, because I thought I had run out of fabric. And then I realized I had just dropped a big piece of fabric on the floor. How's that for an anticlimactic story? Ooh. I'm loving the way this drapes already. Yes, 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 yes. I feel like I have to check every time that I've changed it back to the right thing. Y'all, I'm really liking gathered knit. I am really obsessed with this bird's nest, but I really want to see them fly for the first time. I'm hoping that I actually witness it. There we go. This is making me want to make like a really comfy, like bandeau top gathered skirt knit dress. Maybe not a bandeau top, because anything strapless is gonna fall off, but just like a simple tank. Y'all, this is the problem. The more stuff I sew, even when I'm not sewing a real thing, the more ideas I get for stuff that I want to sew, which is why I have a never-ending list that I can't seem to make a dent in. We interrupt this video for a bit of live news, mainly because it's like 2 a.m. for Matt, and I can't talk to him about this right now. As I was sewing that, I glanced down and saw an email from like the rental agent for this house, and this isn't a unique feeling because as a person who constantly feels like I'm in trouble and I've done something wrong, every time I see an email from her, I'm like, we're in trouble, we did something wrong. Yeah, so I immediately got like a bad feeling, and usually I'm like, oh, that's stupid, calm down, it's nothing. Well, we're not in trouble, but we're losing this house in like 2 months because the owners are moving back. Y'all, we moved here specifically to stay for years. That was the plan. We did not want to have to move again, hopefully until we can afford to buy a house, which, you know, this is LA, so that's gonna be a long time from now. And we were so happy to find this house because it's a great house and it's in a great location. Yeah, we had no issue with staying here for the next several years. And it didn't even occur to me really to think about the fact that our lease is going to be up in a few months, because the assumption was just that we would renew and we'd continue staying here. And now we have to move in 2 months. Do you know how long we looked to find this house. We were on Zillow like every night for months and months, and I very specifically was like, I don't want to move again anytime soon. Moving was exhausting. I can't believe I can't talk to Matt about this right now. So I'm gonna stop with this project today. I might just go cry a little. Not that I'm that in love with this house, but kind of like go stress cry a little. Thanks for being here for some extremely live, in the moment news. By the time this video comes out, it will not be live and in the moment news, but it is right now, and considering I don't have my other person to talk to about it, thanks for being that other person for these few minutes. I finished all of the knit gathering. I do think I'm gonna finish my experiment. I still had tulle and another knit to go. I do plan on coming back to it, specifically because there's not a lot I can do about this whole new development right now, other than, I don't know, get on Zillow. But I don't think I have the brain function to think about it anymore tonight, so I'll see you later. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. All right, I've slept poorly, but life goes on. Let's get back to gathering. Oh, you want to know what happened? Well, Matt happened to be awake at 3 a.m. in England, so we were able to talk about it, and that kind of helped. Not that either of us has solutions or anything, but you know, it helps to be annoyed with somebody else instead of on your own. I'm sure I will share much more thoroughly in upcoming videos because, you know, why not? But yeah, for now, let's refocus on what this video is about: gathering. So I really liked gathering knit, especially this thin, very flowy knit. I'm interested to see how it'll be on the thicker stuff. But I think when it comes to woven fabric, I don't really like gathers as much as like a skirt type. I'm getting really into ruffles right now, but like a gathered skirt is not my favorite on my body type. But in knit, I think I could do a gathered skirt. I think I'd really enjoy a gathered skirt is more of what I'm saying. It falls differently, it looks different, and it looks like it would be really tactilely enjoyable. Gonna do some thicker knit now. I think I might just do the first 4, 1.5 to 2.53 on this one, namely because I don't have a ton of fabric. Let's do it all again. Everything sucks, everything sucks. I'm totally okay, but everything sucks. Why? I managed to get a 5th one out of this, so I went ahead and did a 4 times and I just skipped the 3.5. And I must say, this is one instance where the 4 times length might be too much. What? I know. I mean, it still looks good, but as far as the bulk that it creates, which is also something you have to think about, if I was doing that as like a skirt around my waist, with a thicker knit, the 4 times is a lot of bulk to be putting into a waistband. Still looks great though. Okay, so that's all the regular fabric ones. I feel like I've gained some information there that will be helpful in the future, I think. Last thing I'm gonna do is the tulle, starting with this sort of more delicate, thin stuff. Onward! Okay, so that just happened. I think I'm done here. I think I'm all good. I definitely reached a point where I was like, I don't remember why I'm doing this. And yet, here we are. So with the light tool, I went all the way up and added 4.5 and 5 times the original length, and I still was not gathering it as tightly as it could be gathered. So that is something interesting to learn about light tools. If you gather them as much as possible, you're probably doing like 6, 7, 8 times the original length. Am I making sense in this video at all? Let me know in the comments. It's been a long 6 weeks. When it comes to the netting tool, wait, how many did I do? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times? That doesn't seem right. No, it is, because the biggest one I did was 28 inches long. So this one right here is 7 times the length gathered down. And again, it was not as tightly gathered as it could have been. With the bigger holes, you can gather even frickin' tighter. But look how far that spreads out. Look at the fan that you get. That's how you get a poofy petticoat. I think I could use these as some sort of dramatic headpiece. So yeah, I don't think I thought about how much this would be in the end. I did definitely learn things from this, and also gathering this stuff just inspired me to go make a dress, which I really want to do now. Yeah, I don't know, y'all. Thanks for joining me on this little exploration of gathering. Thanks for being here when shiitake hit the fan. I'll see you next week with some other, I don't know, exploration, project, spiraling chat. If you enjoy seeing someone slowly go insane, then subscribe. Can't promise much, but it might be fun. Hey-o! I don't know why that was in my head. Be less strong, me. Ooh, make a ball gown. No. Okay. Let's do it. Oh, I forgot I'm attached to a thing. That was a side tangent.